Hello. Didn't see you there. Mostly because these are Angela's glasses and I am going blind just using them for a cliched opener. So my name's Ryan, and welcome to the Literature Science Alliance. And this is, I guess, a bonus video. I don't know where this is going to go, when it's going to go. It's just something that I kind of wanted to do, and I'm just going to use my girlfriend's YouTube channel to do it. You know, because what's the point if you don't get to, do anything cool? Yeah, so like everybody else in the world, I've been quarantined, and sports haven't been happening, so I decided to do what Angela did and read a book. Gotta say, not a fan. Don't get it. Don't get the appeal. But no, this is a book called Stranger in a Strange Land by Robert Heinlein. I had to look up how to say his last name literally 5 minutes before I hit record. So Stranger in a Strange Land is one of the first lauded science fiction books. I think it was the first science fiction book to wear the Hugo. I wrote a bunch of notes. I wrote a book report. That's how friggin' bored I am during this quarantine. If elementary school Ryan heard that sentence, he'd beat me up on the playground. So let's see. Yep, it's the first science fiction bestseller on the New York Times. That's what I was thinking of. It did win the Hugo, but Hugo awards go to sci-fi books because duh. That's what Hugo would want. So, I wanted to talk about this book a little bit because I had mixed thoughts about it, and I guess I'll just go into it. So this is a very old book. This was written in the 50s. It came out in 1961. The writing is very of its time. A lot of the wording, there's things in here that are said that would not be said in present day. But the plot really intrigued me. If you're like Angela and smart and bother to go on Goodreads and go to other book reading communities to find book suggestions, that's good. I don't do that. I just randomly looked online for some ideas and this popped up. I read a lot of old sci-fi, so I figured this was right up my alley. So I just kind of went really blind. I knew it was about a man from Mars. That is the stranger in the strange land. And it starts off kind of how I expected it to start off, but boy, does it not end in any way I really saw coming. So I'll do my best to be as spoiler-free as I can, but if you're like me and you went to read this book and want to be totally blind, just stop watching this video. There are better videos on this channel. There was one last week that she put up. It was probably good. So, this starts off, World War III happens. This is the first page of the book, so I'll spoil the first page. World War III happened, and now there's a huge space race. Everyone's trying to get to Mars. The main character of the book is called Valentine Michael Smith. And fun fact, I looked this up. The reason why his name is Mike Smith is because when Heinlein, that name sounds made up. That sounds like a sci-fi name. That's a better sci-fi name than Mike Smith. Anyway, Heinlein was writing this, and one of his friends was like, well, you have to think of a great name for the main character. You can't just name a Martian Michael Smith. And he was like, bet. So yeah, that happened. And so he was born on Mars from one of the opening expeditions. He was the only human to survive it. So his first 2 decades of life was as a Martian, and then he comes back down to Earth, and it becomes a huge government thing. The government holds him, and then one of the other main characters, Jill, is a nurse at the hospital and breaks him out, and so then the rest of the book kind of happens, the twists and turns, I guess. So the first half is a very expected sort of sci-fi setup, but religion plays a really big part in this book, and I didn't really get that at the beginning because it's meant to be more of a satire of evangelic televangelists, sorry, and it goes into that sort of scene. Mike gets exposed to human life in unconventional and conventional ways. It's, I mean, it wouldn't be a very interesting book if it was just like, some nuclear family takes him in. So yeah, this book had me in the first half, not gonna lie. But then somewhere around 2/3 of the way in, Mike is learning like human intimacy, and Jill, like one of the character who's in the whole book with him, just says something about like consent in sexual relationships that is like totally out of left field for her. Like up until that point, like she was a really like multi-dimensional character, especially for a 50s sci-fi author like writing about women. And then it just like that she says something that completely takes me out of the story, and that's around the time where like we see these characters go on a journey that really, it makes sense, the setup is there, but I think it's just like so muddy towards the end. Like they set up a lot of like, or rather, sorry, he sets up a lot of conflicting ideas, and I think it's supposed to be intentional to make you guess what's real and what isn't. Like the afterlife is a big thing. Like Mike has his own beliefs of the afterlife, having lived on Mars and having his own concept of life and death. And so the religious characters also have their own, it's Christianity. So there's that, I don't even want to call it commentary, because it's just like, there's no subtext, it's just text. Like it's people live, people die, they go to heaven and hell, or there's what Martian people believe. I didn't understand when I finished the book what the ending was supposed to mean. And like, I'm fine with ambiguous endings, but I don't think this was intended to be ambiguous. Like, I think it was just supposed to be like, hey, here's the thing that we set up earlier, okay, that's done, and now here's this other thing and it's done. But it doesn't like, I don't think there were meant to be unanswered questions at the end of this book, and I still had them. It wasn't satisfying to me to finish this, because I was already sort of like not as enthralled in it after the weird sex talk. Not because of like, I mean, this book goes into sex a lot, but like, again, there was just like some really out of character moments for how it had been set up thus far. So I just kind of floated to the end. Like, I was on autopilot getting to the end of the book, but then once I got to the end of the book, once again, I had to just be like, yeah, you get it. So yeah, that's my first read-through of Stranger in Strangeland. And I really wanted to like this book, specifically because I was actually interested in another book of his called The Moon is a Harsh Mistress, and I couldn't find that one, so I picked up this guy instead. And he also wrote Starship Troopers, so I was like, he's liked, obviously. But no, that wasn't it. Not for me. What do I do now? Hey guys, so it took like several hours, but I figured out what to do next. Like, comment, and subscribe if you like this video. If you didn't, it's the last video of this kind. Hair and makeup are also quarantined for the weekend, so that's just something we're all gonna have to deal with. Cheers.